Hello, my name is Ergasheva Shahzoda.
Hello, my name is Ergashbekova Mohirabonu.
Today we are going to explain fifth chapter from the book Economic Development.
And our topic is poverty, inequality, and the development.
We will explain how to measure inequality and poverty in countries, and at the end we will give some policies to reduce these issues. Before beginning details of my topic, I want to say about the meaning of these terms. What does it mean, poverty, inequality, and their connection with economic development? What is poverty? Poverty is more than just a lack of money. It is a state of being where a person lacks the resources, rights, and choices which are necessary to maintain basic standards of living. Unfortunately, people in most African countries such as Burundi, Chad, South Sudan, and Nigeria are living in poverty because they lack of resources. What about inequality? You can see inequality in many aspects of our life. Inequality at university happens when students have different opportunities for study. For example, one student gets higher grades because they have enough time to study, eat well, and sleep properly, and another student gets the lower grades because they have to work to earn money, don't eat well, and don't sleep enough. If all students had the same conditions and opportunities, they might achieve similar academic results. This shows that inequality in resources can affect academic performance. What is development? In economics, development isn't only about increasing a country's GDP. It also means reducing poverty and inequality and improving people's overall quality of life. In short, if in the society there is no equality and poverty, it can't have development. I should say, in my part, I merely explain equality and how to measure it. You see inequalities of power, prestige, status, job satisfaction, work conditions, degree of freedom, but all of them are second-level inequalities. For economic development, we need equality in allocation of income and assets. To solve inequality and poverty in society, we need a clear strategy. First, we should measure inequality and poverty using reliable indicators such as poverty rates and income distribution data. And second, we should find the nature of the problem. We should find the answer for the question. Here is the base of inequality and poverty. Where did they come from? And thirdly, we should conduct economic analysis to better understand the issue and develop effective policy solutions, including education, investment, job creation, and fair taxation. In order to measure income distribution, we should distinguish two principles. First one is size distribution of income, and second one is the functional distribution of income. Size distribution of income. Size distribution of income measures the total income received by individual persons or households. It doesn't care how much money was earned, it only cares how much money they have. There is an example of Mrs. X and Mr. Y. If Mrs. X and Mr. Y receive the same personal income, they are replaced in the same income group. Income distribution statistics consider only the amount of income, not how it's earned. However, Mrs. X works 15 hours a day as a doctor to earn her income, while Mr. Y doesn't work at all and simply collects his interest from his inheritance. Also, their incomes are equal. Their economic situations are very different, but it isn't important in this measurement. There are tabular, graphical, and mathematical approaches to find size income statistics. They are connected to each other. First, we use quintiles and deciles method. In the quintile method, the population is divided into 5 equal groups. Each group represents 20% of total population. In the decile method, it's divided into 10 equal groups. Each group represents 10% of total income. This helps us see how income is distributed among different segments of society. Second, the lowest curve is used to show income distribution graphically. It compares the actual income distribution with perfect equality. And finally, Gini coefficient measures inequality numerically. Higher Gini value means greater income inequality, while lower value means more equal distribution. In this slide, we apply quintile and decile methods to measure income distribution in our class. First, we list all students according to their personal income from lowest to highest in ascending order. And next, we divide the group. In the decile column, we divide the students into 10 equal groups. Each group represents 10% of total students. For example, Shahzoda and Arjuna is one group, and Iroda and Mohirabonu is another group. In the quintile column, we divide students into 5 equal groups, which are highlighted with colors. Each group represents 20% of total students. Here, Shahzoda, Arjuna, Iroda, and Mohirabonu is one group. After the grouping, we calculate the share of total income received by each group, and then we calculate Kuznets ratio, which compares high-income students to low-income students. As you can see, Kuznets ratio is equal to 2.65. It means the high-level students are approximately 3 times richer than low-level students. Now we can see Lorentz curve, which is used to show income inequality of students graphically. On the horizontal axis, we have the column percentage of students, and on the vertical axis, we have the cumulative percentage of income. First, in the previous slide, we have divided the class into 5 equal groups. And in quintiles, each representing 20% of students. Then we calculate how much income each group receives. For example, the poorest receives 20%, while 20% of total income, and the rich 20% receives 29.7% of total income. And the red dashed line represents perfect equality, where each 20% of students would receive exactly 20% of income. The blue Lorentz curve shows the real distribution, since the curve is perfect equality line. It means income is distributed equally. Now we calculate Gini coefficient using Brown method. To calculate it, we use cumulative proportion of students and cumulative proportion of income from the Lorentz curve table. And you can see the formula here, and we calculate the summation part. We add all cumulative proportion of income. It equals to 4.11, and multiply the summation to the difference between students' cumulative proportions. It is 0.2, and the result equals to 0.822. Then we subtract this from 1, and now we have found the Gini index. It equals to 0.178. If Gini is equals to 0 or 0%, it means perfect inequality. If Gini equals to 1 or 100%, it means perfect inequality. So our result is near to perfect equality. And unlike size distribution, which looks at income is divided among people, the functional distribution looks at how income is divided among factors of production, such as land, labor, and capital. This shows how much of national income goes to wages, rents, or profits. For example, imagine a company produces goods worth $1,000. $6,000 may go to works as wages, $3,000 may go to the owner as profit, $100,000 may go to land rent. And then graph on the right shows the labor market. where the labor market demand and the labor market supply meet. We get the equilibrium rate. Total income is divided into wages and profits. So functional distribution helps us understand the who receives income, workers or capital owners, and how the national pie is shared. Kuznets' inverted U hypothesis was introduced by economist Simon Kuznets. It explains the relationship between economic development and income inequality. According to this hypothesis, in the early stage of development, economies move from agriculture to industry. A small group of people working in the industrial sector earn much more higher income than those in rural areas. As a result, inequality rises. In this later stage of development, more people move to cities, education improves, and the government introduces social policies such as progressive taxation and welfare programs. Income becomes more widely distributed and inequality begins to decline. Before, the Kuznets hypothesis suggested that inequality is a temporary stage in the process of economic development. Now we give effective policy solutions to reduce inequality. First, affirming the functional distribution means changing how national income is shared between workers and capital owners. If workers receive a small share and profits are very high, inequality increases. Government can raise minimum wages or improve labor conditions to give workers a fair share. Second, mitigating the size distribution means the income gap between rich and poor through progressive taxes and social support programs like pensions, welfare, education, and healthcare. Third, moderating the upper level means limiting excessive income at the top. This can be done through higher taxes on very rich individuals or wealth taxes. Finally, increasing income at the lower level focuses on helping poor people earn more through job creation, education, and targeted assistance. This is end of my part, and I will give turn to my partner.
In my session, I want to talk about absolute poverty and the measuring absolute poverty and policy operations to fight absolute poverty. What is absolute poverty? Absolute poverty isn't about being poorer than your neighbor. It's about being unable to meet the most basic subsistence essentials such as food, clothing, and shelter. It's a condition of severe deprivation of basic human needs. And now, measuring absolute poverty. The most straightforward way to measure poverty is simple to count the poor. This gives us the head count index, H divided by N, where H is the number of persons who are poor and N is the total number of people in the economy. And it tells us the prevalence of poverty, how widespread it is. There is a formula to calculate CPG. It calculates the total amount of money that would be needed to lift every poor person exactly up to the poverty line, where YP is absolute poverty line and YI is income of the poor person. And there is an example of CPG measurement. There is two countries, in both of them in graphs, x-axis percentage of population, in y-axis annual income, and P is a poverty line. In both countries, percentage of population 50%. It means 50% of half of the population are poor. So in country A, CPG shaded more than the country B. So in country A needed more money than the country B to lift up poor people up to the poverty line. And measuring absolute poverty, average poverty gap, with using this formula, TPG divided by N, where is N is number of persons in the economy, and TPG the total poverty gap. This tells us on a person, per person, but includes non-poor, the average shortfall in the economy. It's useful for company countries different sizes. And now measuring average income shortfall. This is a formula calculated with this, and the TPG divided by age. Age is the number of poor person, this tells us the average amount of income that a poor person is missing to reach the poverty line. Now, I'm gonna explain. Now, I will explain about the Foster-Greer-Throwback index. Another important method used to measure poverty. FGD index. FGD index is a family of poverty measures that includes heat count index, poverty gap, income shortfall. These measures are combined into one formula using a parameter called alpha. In the formula, N represents total number of people in the population, H is the number of poor people, and YP is a poverty line, as I said before, and YI is income of each individual, the parameter alpha. So this parameter alpha determines what aspect of poverty we measure. For example, when alpha equal to 0, the formula gives the heat count index, which measures the proportion of people who are poor. And when alpha equal to, it gives the P index to measure, which focuses more on the severity of poverty. Therefore, the FGD index is very useful because it allows economists to analyze different dimensions of poverty using one formula. Another one is a multi-dimensional poverty index, MPI. Measures poverty in a broader way. Poverty is not only about low income. A person may have some problems, some money, but if they do not have a clean water, education, or proper nutrition, they can still be considered poor. Economists Amartya Sen explains that poverty is a lack of capabilities, meaning the ability to live the healthy and decent life. Because of this idea, MPI measures poverty in 3 main dimensions. So health, education, and the standard of living. It is calculated using the formula MPI equal to each multiplied by A is percentage of the people who are poor, and A shows percentage of people, how many deprivation poor people experience. The MPI helps us understand not only how many people are poor, but also how serious their poverty is. Now, and policy operations to find poverty. What can we do with this poverty? Firstly, help workers. In many countries, machines are cheap, but workers are expensive. This is wrong. We should make it cheaper for companies to hire people. This gives jobs to the poor people. Second, shared assets. Land is very important in poor countries. If a few rich people own all the land, the poor stay poor. Land reform means giving land to poor farmers. This helps them grow food and earn money. Third, taxes and cash transfers. The government can tax rich people more and use that money to help the poor. One good example is conditional cash transfers. Poor families get money, but they must send their children to school and go to the health clinic. This helps both today and tomorrow. And the first work fair. This means the government gives the poor people work, not just the money. And the conclusion, to end the poverty, we must understand it in all in depth and the complexity. And this is the end of my